When it comes to marketing, books are everywhere, and more founders are looking to books to boost their credibility in their niche. But how much does having a book actually help with sales? Do you really have to market your book after it's out? Today we're talking to Alex Wong at Self Publishing Authority. Alex is a business coach, consultant, and service provider specializing in self-publishing. He spent the last 10 years as a copywriter, much of those writing books, and he's now helping others through the process. So when it comes to writing a book to boost my authority or my sales and my niche, he's exactly who I want to talk to. In this interview, you're going to get a complete crash course on book writing for small business. Welcome to Membersherpa's Basecamp. Alex, how's it going?
Hi, it's doing great, Ivan.
So why should a small business owner consider writing a book?
It's still one of the best ways to, build your brand, show yourself as a leader to potential, customers in that way. And because the fact that if you could say that you're a self-published author, that still brings a lot of a cachet in today's age, though. Because a lot of people think it's really cool writing a book, but they don't know how to go about it. The process of it, they think it's a lot of work, though, and it is. But once your name is kind of published as an author, though, that's kind of another title you can add to yourself, though. And then if your book becomes a bestseller, which is not too difficult on with Amazon, if you know what you're doing, though, that's another thing you can kind of call yourself. So it's if you call yourself a PhD or MBA, though, best-selling author or self-published and etc. Though, that's another thing you can mention to customers and put on your business website.
So it definitely brings in a lot of credibility, in other words. So maybe more credibility than you would have if you didn't have a book out.
Yeah, I'd say the book doesn't have to be perfect. Basically anything is better than nothing in that case then too, though, right? It's kind of publishing your first blog post, etc. though, right? It's probably not going to be perfect though, but having at least a few posts online though is better than not having any though. And that's the same thing with going with a book though. So basically, in this case, so if it's a business owner and they're selling, I don't know, a plumbing service in that case then too, though, right? They can write a book, basically, how-to guide, basically for people that, want to maybe get into the career as a plumber, or, basically how to kind of go about fixing any little things around their house, though, or how to renovate their house, though. Having a book is one of the easiest ways to kind of demonstrate your expertise then, because it's easy to consume. It's still very popular in that sense too, and people are always reading, whether that's Audible, ebooks, paperback. Still, they're all very popular these days then too. And it's just another way though, besides YouTube, in this case, or podcasts, to get your name out there.
I had a friend who called it an extended business card. So everybody has a business card, or I guess if you're operating online, you don't really have those nowadays, but your business card kind of suggests what you do, what you're an expertise, or what you're an expert in. And then having a book would just kind of showcase that expertise to a much greater extent.
Oh yeah, that's perfect. And I'd say that's a great example too. Maybe that along with your website, I'd say, or probably the two best ways you can kind of get your name out there. Just send your website, or in this case, your book, to any potential prospects, and you instantly have more credibility than anyone else that they're kind of talking to at that time.
In terms of getting your name out there, how much does a book really help with visibility, like getting a business's or increasing a business's visibility?
It really depends, as with most things though, right? I'd say it really depends on the type of business that you are and who you're marketing it to as well, though, and whether they are consuming the material where you're selling it, though. So I'm just thinking of an example, though. So when I started my copywriting, I thought about maybe I could write out some books to kind of market my services, though. So that was kind of how I got started too, though. I didn't know really what I was doing though. So one of the services I was doing was copywriting for dentists in that case. So one of my books was basically copywriting for dentists, though, right? So I thought, okay, that's pretty easy. I could show them how to write better headlines or subheadings and bullet points, sales copy, how to build a website, etc. too, though. So I thought it was a really good way, though, and I did get some clients and I did get some readers, but I didn't realize at that time was dentists, they don't have time to basically do all this stuff themselves, so they're usually hiring another person to do it for them though. So even though the information was great though, the a lot of dentists didn't really like have that need to basically write their book because they already have someone else doing it for them though. They're already busy, so they're not probably not on Amazon in this case looking for books to help them with their sales copy because they already have a dental marketing agency doing that for them though. Saying
Right.
that, I did get some clients though because they did find my books and they ended up hiring me because they really enjoyed my work though. But that's kind of like just one of the things to kind of keep in mind though. So, if it was something else though, like in that case, like depending on the business, maybe for dentists though, I'd say maybe a better avenue probably might have been like maybe YouTube, or maybe if I wanted to go even more in depth though, I would have to kind of like start cold calling, or maybe going to different like conferences and networking events though, etc. though. So it's essentially kind of like all about networking, kind of getting your name out there though. So for books, essentially, like it's kind of like you have to kind of like build up that following, but you also have to kind of like determine whether the audience that you're marketing to is actually, in this case, I'll just use Amazon because it's the biggest marketplace, if they're actually looking for books and looking for whatever you're offering in that format, if that makes sense.
So whether they're book consumers, in other words.
Yeah, a lot of people do read books though. Like, I'm not saying that they don't, but whether like the book that you're selling though. In this my case, it
Hmm.
basically was dental copywriting, or I had another book for blogging, basically. You know, they were great books, but it probably wasn't right for the dentist though. In my case, I had another book was focused more on dental marketing, so that was a little bit better. So but it did help to build some credibility because on my website now, I can still call myself an author basically. I have
Right.
books that are published in, so that basically was an easy way to basically uh, position myself as an expert for them though. So I'm not just any copywriter, but I have books to back it up in this case too.
You mentioned Amazon a couple times. Why would you self-publish versus going with a traditional publisher?
So there's a few things though. Traditional publishers, first off, I don't have any experience working with traditional publishers, but I do know some authors that have that, and they said like it's basically they're a lot more like there's a lot less flexibility though. They take a lot more of a cut with your book though, so they have a lot more control as like what you want to publish, what you can write, how to kind of like outline the book and etc. though. Typically, they also take like a larger percentage of your royalties though, and so on Amazon, depending on your book and what format it is, like if it's an ebook, you can keep 70% on the royalties though, which is pretty high then in that case then too. But a traditional publisher could that could go down to maybe 20 or 30% though too. And just because they're traditional publishers doesn't mean that they're going to do a better job marketing your book though. I found that too though. I've heard of a lot of instances where they went with like a traditional publisher, and then they wanted to make changes for the book though, but they weren't able to though, or the traditional publisher, they weren't really sure how to kind of like uh, optimize all the sections listings for Amazon in this case, for KDP though. Or if they decided to kind of step away from that and they didn't want to work with a publisher anymore, they didn't have any they had issues getting their original files back basically. So there was a lot of like kind of like overlap in that case then too, if they want to kind of separate yourself. So with self-publishing, because of the internet technology and because of like such as like KDP, you have Ingram Sparks and ACX, which is Audible in that case then too. Anyone with like a with a account basically with an email, sorry, with an account with internet and with like a keyboard can basically start writing their book though, and then publish it though in that case then too though, right? So it's not too it's pretty easy to publish your own book though in that case, but it's kind of like choosing the proper topic, choosing kind of like putting in the work and the hours, and kind of like getting your name out there. That's the hard thing. So I found self-publishing is still one of the best ways to kind of like not just get your name out there, but also like, you could turn into a full-time business, earn some additional income, and besides, and then you also build your credibility at the same time. That too.
Right. So I published this book with Harriman House for one of my websites for NetAnt Hunter, and yeah, the process was pretty. Yeah, it was a pretty difficult writing process, and I thought that the publisher would do a lot more work than they did in terms of getting the name out and getting the I guess promoting the book. I did secure a lot of interviews, or a few interviews anyways. I would say maybe, I don't know, 5 to 10 interviews that I wouldn't have otherwise. But I feel that if I put a significant amount of work into marketing the book, I could probably get just as big of a distribution, sorry, visibility. And Harriman House actually did a good job of getting this into bookstores. So you got a physical book into bookstores. That's something that you can't do as a self-publisher. Yeah, I'm not sure if I was to do this again. I'm not sure if I would go with a traditional publisher. I would probably do self-publishing and then just promote it a lot better. Now, nobody gets rich publishing books, or at least very, 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 very few do. So, looking at the ROI is a little bit meaningless, but I would assume that with self-publishing, you would get a higher ROI. I know with Harriman House, I think I get something like $1.50 per book, or $2 a book, or something like that. So self-publishing definitely higher ROI overall, right?
Yeah, I'd say from describing what you said though, yeah, that's pretty low per sale though. Depending on how much you price your book at, Evan. Like for KDP print though, I'm just gonna use KDP print because again it's the easiest way though. There's a lot of more options out there. You can keep like maybe like if you keep an exclusive distribution with them, you can keep up to 60%. So in that case, say if the book is $20 basically, minus shipping, minus printing costs, shipping and everything too, because that's another great thing, they handle everything for you. So you just upload the files and everything too though. It's not uncommon, like for a lot of my books, I can keep maybe like $5, $6, $7 depending on the how much I price it, the book though. So I found like the profit margins are a lot better though in that case than too, versus traditional, as you said though. You're, I guess, as to like you're more limited as like I guess how much you keep for sale. But again, I'm not sure how much flexibility you can price with pricing your book. With self-publishing, that's another thing. Like you can basically, how much I want to price my book is really up to me though, right? So obviously it's gonna depend on the market. I can't price it too high or too low, but what's great is like I can test out different price points. So that allows me to kind of like test out which prices are the most effective though. And sorry, one last thing though. I think you said like you weren't able to with self-publishing, you are able to get into like kind of like libraries and other bookstores though. But it kind of, you just have to kind of like do a little more like, and a lot of like other sites work with like such as like bookstores such as Barnes and Nobles. We have Kobo in Canada, Walmart, etc. Though they do it for online. With the in-store ones, I'd say you have to maybe like reach out to them and maybe network. But I have met a lot of other authors, and they have been able to get their books into the bookstore basically just by talking with them though, essentially. So it really depends on the bookstore, the networking as well though, I'd say. But for me, I just like it because it just offers a lot more flexibility. There's less restrictions, and it allows me to keep more of my sales revenue at the end though.
If we're looking at ROI, or a return on your work that you've done, we're not really talking about having a big financial commitment into writing a book, because what do you need? Typewriter from the 80s, and go from there. But in terms of a return on your time, where do you start seeing a significant return on your time from book sales, so that the revenue that you're getting in from the book sales start to really contribute to an adequate hourly rate?
It really depends again. Like I'd say like, which is kind of like with, I see like publishing a book is kind of like, with any type of business basically, how much one business makes is going to vary widely depending on the industry. And even within that though, it depends on like, the where it's located, who's doing the marketing, or their customers and client base as well though. So with books though, I'd say like I'm gonna go, basically it depends. You can kind of go a few different ways though. I mean, so if say, I guess if the author is like if they already have a big following before they publish a book though. So I'm going to use like, for example, like Mark Manson in this case then, right? I'm not sure if your readers are familiar with him. So essentially like he was already really like a popular writer. That he had his own blog which focused on self-development, dating, relationships, etc. though. Basically, I followed him for a while too though. So he built up his following online already on his blog basically. So he already had a lot of a big loyal fan base though. So by the time he launched his first book, basically, um, I believe it was Models, and then the other one was The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F though. They were basically bestsellers though, essentially, because he already had a loyal fan base though, ready though. So he, in this case though, it was a lot easier to kind of like basically get a lot of sales and royalties and revenue from his book though, right? From one or two books essentially though. But that's not going to be the case for most people though, right? So if you're just kind of starting out from scratch though, you don't have a large following in this case, then it's kind of like it's going to depend on a few different things. So with Amazon, unless you're a big name author like J.K. Rowling or other big names out there like or Stephen King though, right? Most people are not going to know who you are though. So the way that people search on Amazon, they're searching by topic though in that case then too. So they're going to be searching for, in this case, like I'll just use the plumbing example though. People, they'll probably be searching for, like, if they want to help with plumbing, they'll be searching for that on plumbing though. But you have to ask yourself, are you going to be searching for plumbing books on Amazon though? That I'm not sure. Maybe not though. But it could be something else. Maybe, if you're doing something with I'm thinking of another example though for business. Maybe like if you're into like entrepreneurship though, you want to start your own business, you're not really sure how to go about it basically. There's a lot of like entrepreneurship books or basically starting your own business LLC, for example, in that case then that might be a little bit more like potential. But then you have to kind of like think about whether that topic is worth writing about though, right? Because what you're selling for your business though, in that case plumbing though, may not connect well with whatever they have what people are looking for in Amazon in that case then too though. So to answer your question, I guess like for that part, again, it depends on the niche of your book though, and
Hmm.
what you're writing about then too, your following though. And then usually, I got lucky. Like my first few books, I didn't really know what I was doing though, but then after a few, I started to make some more money from them. But generally, from most self publishers, basically, you're not just gonna be writing one or two books basically and expecting to make 1K or 2K, like a couple $1,000s a month though. That's not really realistic. It's possible though, right? I have made that much from some of my books, but out of it's a 20/80 rule basically. If you're having like, publishing 10 books, maybe one of them or two of them is going to do really well, and then the rest of them are going to do maybe okay though. In that case,
That's
then
the
too.
that's the good old Pareto
Yeah,
distribution, the eighty
Pareto
twenty
can,
rule.
yeah, principle. Yeah, exactly though. So you generally like there are publishers that are making a lot of money, like they'll make tens of $1,000s per month, hundreds of $1,000s per year, or even more than that though. But they're probably have like dozens, hundreds, more books basically than that though. So each book is generating a little bit of income from them though, in that case then too though. And out of that though, they probably will have like a few that are generating the majority of the sales though that way too though. So hopefully that helpfully explains it though. And this is just like kind of like each book is kind of like, think of it as kind of like a small little like real estate or kind of like your little asset though that's generating you monthly income though that way too though.
Right.
Right.
And
Yeah.
if you're publishing hundreds of thousands of books, you're probably not watching this episode. So you have things figured out already. But in terms of like just writing a book and thinking about content strategy, it almost makes sense to really get your name out there first, build up a following first, and then launch a book.
Yeah, I'd say like it goes both ways. Like I was kind of like when I first started out, I didn't really know what I was doing, so I was kind of like doing both at the same time. I did the copywriting thing first, built up the website, and then I was like, okay, like I hear people are making money from self-publishing. I'll give that a try. So I made some sales from books though, but wasn't really like it didn't really generate that much money. I'd say from it though, but it did kind of like as you said, get my name out there, and then I kind of used those first couple of books as experience to kind of like know what to do and what not to do for my upcoming books though, and kind of like make the books better, make the launches
Okay.
better, how to like market them more effectively. I'd say anyone that wants to like write a book though, like I'd say kind of like it doesn't have to be perfect though. I guess that goes with everything though, right? Like, cause it's like, not everyone is a natural writer. I'm not a natural writer either. So you kind of have to like, just think about, what you want to write about. And then, it doesn't have to be long either. Like, I think when most people think about a book though, they think it has to be like hundreds of pages long and, you know, um, 100,000 words, 100,000 words, like a really in-depth book, but it doesn't have to be. My first couple of books, I think they were maybe like under 20,000 words though, and they were kind of like more practical workbooks though in that case, into which is what I wanted to make it focus on, like very interactive, action based, practical that they can like kind of use and get more out of though. That was kind of my main focus though. To
How many pages is 20,000 words?
It depends again. It depends on the trim size. So
Roughly, I guess.
yeah, it's kind of hard to say though. Like basically with books, you can kind of, I don't know what your book size is, but usually the common size is maybe 6 by 9. If it's a little bit smaller, 5 by 8. If you want to make it a little bit larger, 8 by 10. With that, maybe 20,000 words. Like it also depends like how big you want to make your fonts basically,
Yeah.
and if it's double spaced, because a lot of like publishers, in order to kind of like pad the page count and to make it look the book more like, I guess what to make it kind of like you're getting more out of it than you really are, they'll kind of pad the page count by double spacing the words and making the font extra big. So that's kind of like, I'd say with the 20,000 words, it would probably be like, definitely under 100 pages then I'd say too. So it won't be a
Mhm.
long book. So, but mine, it included some more worksheets, it included some more exercises. So mine was a little bit like different than I guess what if you were to kind of just have like a 20,000 book full of text basically. And again, if you want to include images in there, you could include some more, add some more pages there too.
After getting a little bit older, I definitely appreciate that bigger font and that more padding on the side. So double spacing, it's all good.
Yeah, man, though. It definitely makes reading a lot easier though. I prefer audiobooks though. Myself,
Audiobooks
you
are
know.
great. What? So, how does somebody get over the fear of writing? So if they feel that they're not necessarily expert enough to put together a book, how do they get over that fear?
It's going to be the always like the common sayings. You can basically start small, and kind of like if you want to write a book and you wanted to make it like like 50,000 words for example, then right, that is going to be very overwhelming. But if you kind of chunk it up and basically commit to writing 1,000 words per day, even if it's great writing or not writing, you give yourself a goal to commit yourself to writing X amount of words per day though. For me, I kind of like I started with the blog posts. Like I found that a little bit easier because instead of writing this whole book though, you can write a short little blog post, 1,000 words for example. You could even make it shorter, 500 words. It doesn't really matter though in that case, but it's just like I think that kind of like makes you comfortable with putting your thoughts on your computer and basically kind of it helps with the outlining, it helps with the editing, the finessing though, and then kind of like making your points more clear. And then I guess from there, once you get comfortable, you kind of move on to your book though. And there's a lot of people, they just turn their blog posts into books basically, because if you have a huge blog post, it's probably disorganized and you have your thoughts all over the place though. So a lot of publishers do is like they'll just basically take all their blog posts and basically put into one book basically, make it organized for the readers, and people are willing to pay for that because they don't have to go on your website and manually search out different sections basically. They can read it everything in one place though.
I guess if you've written a lot of blog posts on a particular topic, let's take plumbing again. If you set up a website and you wrote tons and tons of articles on plumbing, you're kind of already an expert in it because you need to be an expert to put all that content out there. So, just get that content in a longer form piece like a book.
Yeah, basically. And the great thing with writing is like you can always add or take away sections, edit sections. That's another thing I like about self-publishing. You can update your manuscript at any time though. So obviously like you want to make it the best you can, but with my books though, I'm always updating it though because I get feedback whenever when I publish a book though. I'll get reviews on it from customers, and they usually will say like, "Oh, this is good, but I didn't like this section, or that could be better." And then, "Oh, okay, that's good feedback though. If it's if they're being fair with it, I'll add that to the manuscript. I'll try to finesse it a little bit more, and then I'll upload it again onto KDP, and basically right then and there though, the manuscript will be updated, within 24 hours, give or take. Then, right?
And KDP is Kindle Direct Publishing.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh,
When I say KDP, it's just think of like it's Amazon's publishing platform basically, but you
okay.
can do this on other online platforms as well. Though they allow you to basically upload your manuscript because everything's electronic now, though, right? So you just upload it. Once it's updated, they will just once it's approved, though, they could basically they'll ship it out to the whoever buys the book though, or in this case, ebook where they download the book though.
I've definitely gone both routes. I've
Yeah.
curated blog posts into a book, and that worked out fairly well. And a lot of people were buying it, even though the articles were on the website already. I guess they just liked having a place where they could go from, step one to step two, step three, step four in a curated way, in a more organized way, rather than having to find their own way on the site. And then when I was asked to write the book by Herman House, I looked at all the articles that I'd written over the last, 2, 3, 4 years. And over that time span, my writing had definitely improved. And so I looked at those articles, I just thought, yeah, this is not up to standard. So I had to write the whole book from scratch. And that was definitely a long process. But definitely if you're just curating and editing, it's going to be a lot smaller time commitment.
Oh, for sure though. Yeah, because you already have the foundation in place though. It's just about finessing it, editing it, and improving upon what you already have then, in that case.
So we talked about self-publishing, we've talked about going with a publisher, we've talked about curating articles, we've talked about writing a book, we've talked about the inner game of, expertise and all that. But can you write a book just based on your own experience, or does it have to be researched? You have to have footnotes?
Personally, I think the best books have a combination of both. Um, because I've because the thing is like information is available online though. Like anyone could go online and Google. In this case, like now it's even easier with like AI such as ChatGPT, and you can ask it whatever question, and within like a matter of seconds, it will spit out this really like in-depth, very well researched answer to whatever you're curious about though too. So that's the issue with Amazon. Like a lot of people, authors, they basically have started pumping up books basically that are fully written in AI though, and they're just honestly they're okay, they're fine though, but they're just not that engaging to read about though. Because the thing is like it's just very like cold though in that case then too though, and you kind of feel it though, right? Because like you don't know who this person is though, and they're writing about this random topic though. But they have in the book though they don't talk about anything about themselves. I don't know where they what their background is though, what education they have though, what qualifies them to talk about this topic then too though. Even though the information might be fine though, it's just like it's just very it's kind of like you can kind of tell that it's like very impersonal though, right? Too. But for me, like I whenever I try to like uh, write my books though for my clients as well though, and whenever I read them though, I found the most impactful ones though, and the best feedback I've gotten is actually like my books were like they'll say like they really appreciate the personal aspects or me basically including my stories in there though too, you know, and linking that with whatever that's the content for the book though, and I think that's what readers appreciate though. Like AI is great; it's great for compiling information, kind of creating content as well in this case, so it makes everything a lot easier, but it can't really replace that human aspect though too though, right? And I think that's probably going to be like the biggest benefit with like including your stories, because like there's not going to be anyone else quite like you though. We all have kind of like similar experiences, but they're also quite unique for each person though too. So I found like kind of like that kind of like it kind of adds a lot more personality to what you're reading, though. It makes them a lot more engaging, though, too. Then, right?
So how does somebody know that their own story is interesting enough or engaging enough for their book?
I guess for me, it's like I guess if I believe in it, though, I guess it's hard to say. Like, I don't know if that's the right answer, but personally, for like whenever I'm writing, whatever I'm publishing about the book, basically, like you're obviously going to be the most familiar with whatever topic you're writing about, though. So I guess in this case, I'll just go back to plumbing because to make it easier in that case, then too, right? Plumbing. If I was going to write a book about plumbing, though, basically, think about like what are the best books I've like that have resonated with me though, and usually they're like not just for information, but I usually remember the stories that they came from. So usually it'll be like maybe like I could talk about like what kind of like got me started with plumbing. Basically, it could be maybe growing up with my father in this case then, and then I would watch him basically fix the toilet in that case then too, and then we either work on projects together though, and then that kind of got me on this whole start with basically the plumbing career in that case then too though. So I think like
Warm,
and then sorry. Hmm?
warm childhood memories of fixing the toilet.
Yeah, yeah. Just an example then too, right? But I mean like I think we all can kind of like, relate to that though, even though we probably didn't like fix toilets for our own father in that case, then we all have like our different memories with maybe a parent though, them teaching us something in that case then too, right? And that kind of like we're kind of like meeting the reader where they are that doesn't too. And then from that though, you can basically move into whatever you want to talk about with your plumbing, basically, whether that's starting a plumbing business or finding customers or et cetera then too though. But I find that kind of like including kind of like little bits of information basically throughout the book though, it kind of like creates like a like a more engaging reading experience then too. It doesn't have to be long stories either though, right? I just found that basically even like the smallest stories, it doesn't have to be a bitch story though. Like, in that case, like you maybe growing up you would like to play with those like tools basically fixing things up around building your own little house though, that could be a little story though in itself though, and then use that as a kind of like a leadway to whatever you want to talk about though too.
If I think about the books that I've really gravitated to, they're all kind of biographies. There's business lessons in there, but a lot of it is just personal story about, the trials and tribulations that somebody went through. And it just kind of makes the whole learning experience a lot more engaging. So yeah, definitely buy into that. But when we're talking about the facts, what unique insights could the author provide the readers that would make it really helpful or insightful?
So you're talking about maybe like some kind of like solutions, you mean, or
Yeah,
some kind of.
solutions or kind of unique insights into a specific niche or topic that would really appeal to the readers. How do they find out, I guess, what little bits and pieces of information to add?
I'd say like this goes back to like knowing your customer base though and your audience though. So if you don't know your audience though, it's going to be really hard to write a book that resonates with them because you won't really know what resonates with them. So I guess like before you start writing, if that's something you're thinking about doing though, you should probably start going to where your audience hangs out, your readers are. So again, with the plumbing, to make it easier though, you know, I would probably maybe like, talk to, like if you already have your business set up though and you already have customers and clients though, you should have a decent idea of like what customers, what pain points they have then too though. So, maybe it's like not knowing what tools to buy or what tools to get though, what tools to select, what kind of like what tools to do the specific type of job though, that case then. If you're teaching them about how to start a business though, they could be kind of like, where do you even start though? I mean, too, like, what are the costs? What are the expenses? How do you kind of go about setting up your business, registering it then too though? So the fact that it's, we all have the internet right now, it makes it a lot easier to kind of find the information though, right? If you have direct experience with customers, that's the best obviously then too. If not, then, I usually always recommend kind of like, checking out forums, checking out, you can check Quora, Reddit, those are great places as well, though.
Mhm.
Um, Amazon's also a great place as well, though. Like, I found that for me, just like reading, not just reviews for my books, but basically reviews from similar books, basically, I was able to pick up a lot of like golden nuggets. So it's like what I can do to improve upon my niche, though, or my book, though because there might be like another bunch of other books that are similar though, but there's specific areas where where customers didn't where they didn't like though, and I was like, okay, they wanted to be a little bit more practical, a little bit more easier to read, or a little bit like you written more in layman's terms. Like, okay, I could probably do that though too for my book then too. So I guess it's kind of like just learning as much about your audience, getting that feedback basically, and then using that information to basically uh, write the best book that you can, though, that you think that would be helpful for them, though, in that case.
So
So that's going to
core
depend for each
marketing
business.
principles, I guess, in other words.
Yeah, it's just about researching your customers, though, too, though, right?
Right.
It's like, and then if you're not sure what to write about, basically, it never hurts to ask, though, too, right? It's like because it's like once you it just makes everything else easier because like once you know what your customers need help with though, you know exactly how to best help them, right? Whether solutions you're
Mhm.
providing or what they're looking for, that's another case, but at least now you know what your customers are looking for though.
Okay, so say somebody wrote this book and they put a lot of time and effort into it. They put it out there in the world. They tried marketing it, and it just kind of fell flat. Is the content salvageable? Can you repurpose it?
Yeah, usually. So with the books though, there's gonna be many cases as to like why books like don't do well though. I mean, like not all my books have done well either. A lot of other authors they haven't. It could basically be like, yeah, either the content's not very engaging. Usually it's like some other stuff too, though. Like usually they don't have any reviews for the book, though. If they have no reviews, no one's going to buy the book. Pricing wise, it might be a little bit too high priced, or keywords. Maybe their topic is not, no one's searching for it though, right? So again, with the plumbing, I don't know if people are looking on Amazon for plumbing books. Maybe not. If they are, they probably won't be that many. I would say like with that, maybe people are searching on YouTube because they probably want more instructional videos to show them how to fix things though at home then too though. So usually with that though, it depends on the agreement with KDP though. So with KDP, they have like it's called a KDP Select though, and this is an agreement where you agree to make your ebook exclusive with Amazon for 90 days basically. So during that 90-day period though, you cannot sell your book anywhere outside of Amazon basically. And this kind of gives you some additional benefits. They'll give you some promotional tools, such as offering your book for free or at a discounted price during that time. But in exchange that, you're kind of giving some flexibility as to where you can sell your book, though, right? So during that time, though, if you want to reuse the book content, I would definitely maybe reach out to the support and double check with them, because the last thing you want them to do is basically think that you have the content published elsewhere, or it's basically duplicate content, though, and because they might remove the book, or you might have your account issues then, which is what you don't want then, right?
Right.
If it's not though exclusive with Amazon though, then you have a lot more flexibility though. There's nothing stopping you from, again, kind of like turning that into other formats. So what I always recommend when people are publishing a book though is like never just do it in one format though. Like some of the clients I work with now, they want to just do a paperback or they just want to do an ebook though. But I always ask them, why don't you do a hardcover as well though? And why not, if it's appropriate, why not do an audiobook as well though? Because instead of just having one or two avenues of making money, you can make money from audiobooks as well though, or hardcover as well though. So you have four ways to make money now versus just two this way too. And then if it's not selling well on Amazon, then you could try making it available outside of Amazon in that case then too. So make it outside of like, Walmart, books and Barnes and Nobles, giving that a try. And then, another avenue is like if you are really want to manage it more yourself though, you can sell it directly on your website. That's another option too. Or even get it for free though. I mean, like I know like a lot of authors basically offer their books for free though, and they've been able to get like a lot of following, a lot of readership that way. Because like people love free stuff though, right? Whether it's a book, audiobook, blog post, if it's
Right.
helpful, they will consume it that way too though. So I always feel like there's basically, if it doesn't do well, not to give up. Try basically try tweaking it, fixing it. There's probably something else you haven't done right, which is usually the case, and then making it available in different formats and just trying it. And then if it doesn't work well or if it doesn't sell anything, you know, I just take it as a learning experience though, right?
Mm.
You still are a published author, the book may not have done well, but you can use it as experience for your next launch.
So a lot of people watching this, they have businesses. Maybe they just started a business and start to take off, but they're feeling overwhelmed with the amount of work that they have to do. Is it okay to hire a ghostwriter or use AI to write the book for them?
Personally, I'd say it's fine. Like that's just me though. Like it's going to depend on the person though, right? Because there's going to be like authors that saying like in order to qualify as like an author, they have to do everything themselves, or they have to write themselves. They wanted to basically edit it, proofread it, just do everything themselves though, which is fine in that case. But there's also going to be other people that they don't really care about the writing aspect of stuff, because they may not be natural writers. They want to like just make money though, so they're gonna go the other route and basically just hiring a ghostwriter, or in this case now AI though. But I think it's like, for me, the way I say is like, what matters in the end is like whether the book is helpful to readers though, whether it provides value to them. Because like I'm sure you're aware that there are a lot of celebrities, they're published basically, but they usually have ghostwriters, that write their own books. They'll probably just like, talk with the ghostwriter, they'll have an interview or a set of interviews, tell them what they want to talk about, tell them the stories and etc. And basically it's up to the ghostwriter to basically put that all together for a book basically that they can basically package and sell to readers though, in the case, right? I don't think it's either an either or though. I'd
Hmm.
say with AI, I'd say like the problem with AI is like, people, if you rely on it too much though to do all your writing basically, and then you're not adding anything yourself to it, then I think it's kind of like that's kind of detracting from the amount of value they could provide to readers, basically. Because again, like, if you can basically get all this stuff from online yourself already, though, there's not really any point of the reader getting the book in that case, then, too, right? You want to be providing something that they can't get from online that easily, though. So I find that with AI, it's usually best for making your workflow easier, though. So personally, I use it for editing, proofreading, though, or usually outlining or generating ideas. I found that's been quite helpful for me. It makes the workflow a lot easier. Basically, you can use AI to basically make the writing smoother if you want to do that, though. And then kind of like this way, you don't have to kind of like what would have taken like hours can take a much shorter time too, right? With
Right.
ghostwriters, I find that like there's nothing wrong with that. I work with a lot of ghostwriters, and uh, myself, I've written my books and I've also hired them too. And from my experience, like I found that like writing a book takes a lot of time and effort, though, as you're aware of. So I found that basically I can basically hire someone else though that's much better than me at writing though, and basically creating a much better book than I would have done myself though. But I am still responsible for basically providing them with like the outline, getting them the ideas, and providing them with the proper information and research though, and ensuring that the book is the best that quality I can be. Because for me, that's all that matters though. I want to publish a book that's that readers want to read though, that they want to leave a good review for, and that makes a difference in their lives though. So for me, whether you go write it yourself or whether you hire another writer to do it for you, I don't think I basically it really depends on the person, and it depends on whether you have the budget. Because if you hire a ghostwriter, that's going to cost quite a bit of money, depending on their quality of the writer, their rates, how many words your book is, and how in depth it is. Versus if you're just starting out, though, this might help people that are just starting their business without any cash flow. You can use this as a way to basically just write your book, save your money though, get some experience from it basically. And then if you decide that publishing is what you want to do, you can consider investing more money into hiring a writer for the future.
So let's say that somebody is pretty keen on writing the book themselves. They don't like the idea of AI writing the book
Yeah.
or having a ghostwriter. Are there any tools or techniques that can really save somebody time, maybe with scheduling or focusing, so they don't end up neglecting their business? Because, they're trying to run a business as well.
Yeah, I'd say it's like it's like with everything though. Like it's there's always something else to do though, which is why it depends on how much time and they have in their day basically. Because if you're writing a book, basically, you have to set X amount of hours per day. So if it's like 2 hours per day or 3 hours per day though, that time you have to spend writing a book now versus like what you could have be doing using that time for something else though in that case then too, right? So I'd say like as with most businesses, like once you can afford it though, I'd recommend basically outsourcing tasks that you don't need to do yourself or you don't enjoy doing yourself though to other people though. So if it's like if they are writing the book themselves though, right, I like to kind of just like have a timer, Pareto, just have a 15-minute timer, and basically and now I know basically I need to basically be writing or working for that 15 minutes, and then I'll have a 10-minute break though in that case afterwards too though. That'll help me a little bit of focus. I'd say just the small little things like putting your phone away, having minimizing your distractions. Um, with the other tools, though, I'd say it's kind of like if you want to write though, I'd still would recommend kind of like using AI in this case to basically check for any areas that could be strengthened. So that could maybe help to like streamline the process, get AIs, get their feedback though, maybe create an outline for you, and then you can also hire an editor basically, which is typically much cheaper than what you would pay for a full-time ghostwriter to kind of like go through your book and basically just edit it though and get their feedback on it too though, right? So that's kind of like you're outsourcing it, but you're also utilizing technology to kind of like make a workflow a lot easier that way than you're to basically do it all manually yourself.
This is a book that I found pretty impactful when I first started my business.
Oh yeah, I like that book
Powerful
though. Yeah,
Engagement by, I
yeah.
think, Lauer and Schwartz.
Yeah, like
And
that.
one thing that they really recommend is booking off maybe 90-minute chunks or 90-minute blocks where you just focused, you have absolutely no distractions. You just focused on writing.
For sure, though. Yeah, I heard like it's basically allocating the first 2 hours of your day to the most important task though, because that will use the most energy, the most focus that you during the, and then after that you can do whatever else you need to, but doing the most important thing first though during the day. So if that's writing your book though, in this case, then you know budgeting 2 hours if that's what you decide to do, and just basically writing whatever how many words you want to write, whether it's 1,000 or 2,000 words for that day.
How does somebody market their book if they don't have a big budget?
It's going to be a lot harder with marketing though. With marketing, you can so if you don't have any budget, say if it's for zero, if you have like no money, then I'd say the easiest way is basically reaching out to just going the traditional route, basically, reaching out to your friends and family or your own network though. So that's the easiest way for it, basically, because usually if it's your first book though, people are quite supportive. If it's your 10th book, they probably will not be as because people are busy, they don't have time to always be reading and reviewing your book though. But if it's your first book, people are very quite receptive. So I would recommend reaching out to your friends, family, letting them know basically about what you're planning to do, that you're planning to write the book though, and then you're planning to launch it. And then basically once you are published it though, you can ask them to basically if they would be interested in reading, and if they have the time though, they could leave a review though. In this case, it could be for Amazon if they have an account though. And so that's basically, you're not spending too much money. You just be spending more time to kind of reaching out to people. Again, the other ways is if you have a blog post, a blog, that's an easy way to kind of kind of let your readers know, your email list. I'd say for me, I have like a small email list right now. So whenever I launch a new book though, I'll kind of just let them know ahead of time, like, hey, I'm releasing a new book in the next month or so. If anyone's interested in reading it and posting a review once it's live though, please let me know, reply back to this email, and I'll send you the book basically. And usually I'll get like at least maybe 20, 30 people that are interested, that basically, I'll send them the book, they'll read it though, and then once the book is live though, they'll review it, and that's great because I'll have some reviews right off the bat though, for once my book is live though. Um, Besides that, it's kind of just social media, YouTube, whatever channels that you have already available. I think that's kind of going to be the best way to kind of just get your name out there. Is it going to be the most effective or efficient way? Probably not, because you're using a lot of time. And keep in mind that people, if your friends or family are probably not going to be your target readers basically, that are going to be buying your book basically. In this case, if it's plumbing, they're doing it because they want to help you because you're their friend or their family though. So it
Mhm.
still requires you to kind of build up your reader base and your fan base, gradually over time, organically though, such as building up your email list, doing marketing, and getting your name out there.
And you really have to meet your target audience where they are. So in terms of social media, where do your ideal customers hang out? Where do your prospects hang out? And you really have to kind of go there, meet them there to really have the biggest impact, the biggest bang for your buck in terms of time.
Yeah, and it takes a lot of time and effort though. And if you don't have a following, so in this case, if you don't have a following already, if you're just starting from ground zero, it's going to be a lot harder though. There are there are sites where you can basically get reviews or do marketing for your book though. But again, those aren't your target readers though. There's probably going to be other authors that are publishing their book too, or marketing their book though too. They're not going to be people looking for solutions for, in this case, plumbing in that case then too, right? So
Right.
it's kind of there's not really any magic pill or a solution for this though. It's going to be kind of a variety of things that you kind of have to be testing, doing, and kind of just gradually over time, if you stick with it, you'll build up a decent fan base that will want to read your work basically, whether that's your blog posts, in this case your books, audiobooks, etc. though too though. But if you have money, that makes things a lot easier though.
Alex, I think this has been awesome. So, where do people go to contact you if they want help with their book writing or they want a consult or something like that?
So the easiest way to reach me is on my website. It's selfpublishingauthority.com. And on that site, they can check out my services. I offer a variety of services such as like book description writing, author bio writing, if they need help with their keyword research as well, getting reviews, basically optimizing their book listing. And I also offer coaching, consulting if they need help with like marketing the book, promoting their book. Basically anything they need help with because I've been doing this for so long that I kind of know the process inside and out. So I know like um, what people struggle with though. Like I know what kind of common issues they have because it's usually the same common issues that come up no matter who I work with. Because I went through them myself though too. So it's like I just want to like for me I want to make the process as smooth for people though. I want to like because there's usually many questions as you said like you asked me today like what are the price of book though. What format should they do though? How do they market the book? How do they get reviews? So I'm kind of like there to kind of like guide them along and just make the self-publishing process as smooth as possible for them.
And it definitely pays to have a coach or a consultant, talk to somebody that's been there before, done it, made all the mistakes. So yeah, highly recommended. Alex, thanks for joining us. Have a great day.
Oh, thank you. You too. It was great talking to you, Evan.
There's some key things to keep in mind if you plan to write a book for your business. First, you need to remember that book writing is not a huge moneymaker. Don't expect a lot of revenue from book sales. Instead, think of your book as an extended business card where you showcase what you know to potential clients so you're seen as more of an authority in your niche. Second, while you can use ghostwriters or AI to write a book for you, a lot of the value that readers get from the book come from personal stories that you share. AI can't write those stories for you. Sharing personal stories helps you become much more relatable to your target prospect and really help you build liking and trust, so make sure to include them. Third, you should be using AI as tools in the process to help speed up the project. AI can be useful for outlining a book and doing basic research, and you can definitely use it to help with proofreading. Fourth, you will definitely have to market the book. And the best way to do this is by going to where your customers are. This is really marketing 101. Find out the conversation that your prospects are having in their head, their pain points, frustrations, and then meet them there by including solutions to those topics in your book. Then, once written, market your book in the places that they hang out. Now, if you'd like to get started in podcasting, then I recommend watching the interview here with Nay Torres from the Financially Free podcast about how to get started. And if you want to hear how one of the best podcasters in the world grew their audience to over 3 million monthly downloads, click on our interview with Omar Zenhome here.